morning. It is October 30th, so you know what that means. We are on Proverbs chapter 30. And if you're interested in any of the resources that I used in today's Bible study, go ahead and click the description box because that's exactly where I got you. And to be sure to comment the verses that stood out to you. And I'm going to tell you the ones that stood out to me. Let's get into it. It is day 30. Shut the front door. We got one more day of the Proverbs challenge. Hats out to you. Congratulations. One more day. And I am just so filled up. Like, literally just thinking about the wisdom that is being implanted in us from what we're learning from God. And I'm seeing how day by day by day, things that I've read in Proverbs are showing up in my life, and I'm able to apply that wisdom, apply that knowledge, and actually make decisions that make God smile. Have you been noticing that for yourself too? Have you been noticing that? I think it's a beautiful thing, and I'm excited. Tomorrow is October 31st, and let me tell you, Proverbs chapter 31 is literally one of my favorite chapters in the Bible. It got to be, because I have that podcast called Becoming P31, talking about becoming the Proverbs 31 woman. I'll go more in detail about it tomorrow if you're not familiar with what I'm referring to. But let's get into Proverbs chapter 30 today. It was so much stuff, so much. Hey, for Proverbs chapter 30, I'm going to look at verse 1 through 5, but I'm going to read it in the Amplified version because I read it in the NKJV and I still needed to grasp it. Then I read it in CEV and I still needed to grasp it. I went to Enduring Word and I still needed more. So then I read it in the Amplified version, and I think that it really helps me put everything together. So let me read that for you. Now, when it comes to these Bible names, these biblical names, it feels like they were just throwing letters in a hat. So how I say it is how I say it, but it's on the screen. You can read it for how you read it. Do your best as I did mine. Agur, the son of Jakiah, the oracle, the man says to Ethiel, to Ukal, surely I am more brutish and stupid than any man, and I do not have an understanding of a man, for I do not know what I don't know. I have not learned skillful and godly wisdom, nor do I have knowledge of the Holy One who is the source of wisdom. Who has ascended into heaven and descended? Who has gathered the wind by his fist? Who has bound the waters in his garment? Who has established all the ends of earth? What is his name? What is his son's name? Certainly you know, looking at John chapter 3, verse 13, and Revelations verse 19 through 12. Every word of God is tested and refined like silver. He is a shield to those who trust him and take refuge in him. That's Psalms chapter 18, verse 30, chapter 84, verse 11, chapter 115, verse 9 through 11. So let's talk about this. Men of Hezekiah introduces this guy, and his name is Agur, or Agar, however you want to say it. They introduce this guy into chapter 30, and they're using some of his words. And immediately when I read verses 1 through 5, I was like, what is this man talking about? I get it. You lack wisdom, and you're asking, like, who has really done all this? Who is this God? And then he goes back and he says, God's word is actually tested. I have no clue what's going on. Listen, I can't even tell you the understanding of man, period. Who am I to tell you about God? And then I realized it after, it took me a while, judge somebody else. It took me a while, but I realized it, especially with Enduring Word giving me that insight, is that Agar is letting us know how to approach a situation with humility. So he's approaching the godly wisdom that he's gained with a level of humility. He's basically saying, listen, I don't know it all. I don't know it all. I may have attained a little bit of godly wisdom, but listen, there's still so much for me to learn. I don't know. I can't even comprehend what it means to be a man for real, for real. I'm still learning that. But you expect me to know how to gather the wind with my hands and my fist? I don't know how to do that. You're going to have to go talk to that man. His name is God. He got a son named Jesus. You know what I'm saying? That's how I took it. This is how I took it. I took it like that. I took it like, and I think when I looked at the different resources like enduringword.com, I feel like that's exactly what they're saying on how Agur, or what his name is, how he was approaching the situation with a level of humility. And it makes so much sense because a lot of chapter 30 is talking about humility and contentment and all these things. And honestly, as I've been doing these Bible studies, and, I'm just a girl trying to learn her word. I used to tell you that all the time. I'm just a girl trying to learn her word, baby, because I don't know it all. And there's no way for me to know it all. There's so much that God has put inside of his books for us, that God has put inside of our spirits for us, that God is planting in other people. There's so much to know. And he is just reminding us, even when you're studying the Proverbs challenge, and even when you're embarking on learning more about godly wisdom, there's still so much to know. Humble yourself when it comes to people asking questions about God. I will tell you in a heartbeat, baby, I'm just not learning, honey. I don't know. And that's why I always tell you, like, go back and read it for yourself. What is God telling you? Because this is just how I'm taking it. This is my perspective. What is God saying? And this is also why it's so important for us to be in our word so that we can, focus on what God is telling us, gaining godly wisdom, knowing that we don't know it all, being humble, being submissive to the Almighty. He is amazing. He knows it all. Baby, I'm out here reading in 3 different Bible versions. You know what I'm saying? Next one that stood out to me was verse 7 through 9. I'm going to read that in the NKJV version. It says, 2 things that I request to you, deprive me not before I die. Remove falsehood and lies far away from me, and give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with the food allotted to me, lest I be full and I deny you, and say, who is God? Or lest I be poor and steal and profane the name of God. About contentment, he's talking about having enough. He's talking about, God, don't give me too much, because I don't want to have so much to where I forget who gave it to me. I don't want to have so much to where I don't remember to thank you before I eat. I don't want to have so much to where I forget about how amazing you are and forget to give you praises because I'm so excited with everything in front of me. I don't want that. And please don't give me too little, because I don't want to look at it like, God, I don't want to, get upset with you. God, just give me enough. Give me enough. Give me enough. I don't want any more than that. And that leads me to the next one that actually stood out to me, which was verses 15 through 16. 15 through 16 talk about greediness. And if we transfer that and relate that to Proverbs chapter 30, verse 8, and you look at those two together, greediness, the leech has 2 daughters, give and give. There are 3 things that are never satisfied. 4 never say enough. The grave is never satisfied. The barren womb is never satisfied. The earth is not satisfied with water. And the fire never says it's enough. Think about being greedy. And we know, especially when we go back and we look at verse 8, you never want to have too much. I don't want to have too much. I don't want to have too much, God. Just give me just enough to get me by. Then if we backtrack just a little bit, verses 11 through 14 talk about the disrespectful people, the hypocrites, the proud, and also the greedy. There's a generation that curses its father and does not bless its mother, disrespectful. There's a generation that is pure in his own eyes, yet has not washed from its own filthiness, the hypocrite. There's a generation of how lofty are their eyes, and their eyelids are lifted up, the prideful. There's a generation of those whose teeth are like swords. They have fangs like knives. They devour the poor from earth, and the needy among men, the greedy. Saying I don't want to fit into any one of those categories. And if I do see myself walking down that path of either being disrespectful, being a hypocrite, being too proudful, being greedy, humble me, God, and let me give that to you, God. Let me give that to you, because I don't want to be that person. All 4 of these characteristics can deter you farther and farther away from God, and people around you farther and farther away from God. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. Not least, I'm looking at verses 24 through 28 that say there are 4 things which are little on earth, but they are exceedingly wise. The ants are people who are not strong, yet they prepare their food in the summer. The rock badgers are not feeble folk, yet they make their homes into crags. The locusts have no king, yet they advance in ranks. The spider skillfully grasps with its own hands, and it's in kings' palaces. Period. If you ever think that you don't have enough, that you're not capable, that you don't have the skill set that you're required to reach new heights, baby, if you don't go back to Proverbs chapter 30, verses 24 through 28, baby, and realize who made you, because if he can do it for the ant, if he can do it for the spider, baby, they said the spider crafts with his own hands and still ends up in the king's palace. Period. You are more than capable. You are more than able. Look who made you. He made you capable. Don't you ever doubt yourself. And I'm going to tell you right now, that call is coming from inside the house, because I've had seasons where I've doubted myself too. It is natural. It's normal. But God reminds us in Proverbs chapter 30, verses 24 through 28, that he made you better than that. If he'll do it for the insects, trust and believe he has way more for you. Period. That is what I got from Proverbs chapter 30. And I will see you tomorrow for our final chapter, Proverbs 31. Bye, y'all. Have a good day.